America, stand by.
WABC, New York.
And let's be heard. Good afternoon, everyone. The telephone lines are open. The number to call in New York, 563 WABC. New Jersey uses 201-489 WABC. In a program dedicated to the free and open exchange of ideas and of opinions, in the belief that as American citizens, you have a right to hear and to be heard. And what is on your mind this afternoon, huh? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the people that we elect to public office on every level are ripping us off. There's no doubt in my mind their only concern, with some exception, is what can they do to get elected? What can they do to get reelected? And I know I have said this many times. There are, I'm sure, many of you who are getting a little bored hearing it. But whether you're bored hearing it or not really is secondary to the import of what we're dealing with here. We're dealing really with ourselves. I can't stress that enough when I say we're dealing with ourselves. And what do I mean by that? If this is indeed supposed to be a government of, by, and for the people, then inevitably the people have to be held accountable. All those scalawags that go to Washington and rip us off don't go there on their own. They go there because they get enough votes that constitutionally and legally entitle them to go there. Those individuals that take the oath of office, whether it be in Trenton or Albany or Hartford or Harrisburg or New York City, wherever they may take the oath of office, they are taking the oath of office because the electorate says they can take the oath of office. I would love to see what would happen if we would have the American version of the revolution that they had in Eastern Europe. And what would the American version be? The American version would be if most of the incumbents in this 1990 election at hand would lose. How worse could the challengers be, huh? The important thing is we would finally send a message that, hey, you don't have a lock on this job. You don't have a sinecure. You don't have it in perpetuity. You are not a member of the House of Lords. You're a representative of the people. 206 times James Madison in the Federalist Papers talked about, you should pardon the expression, the Republican form of government. What does that mean? He wasn't talking about Ronald Reagan or George Bush or Al D'Amato or Bob Dole. He was talking about sending individuals to represent other individuals. He was talking about citizens saying, hey, look, George, you go down there to Washington and you carry the ball for us. Hey, John, you go up to Albany and you carry the ball for us. Are they carrying the ball for us? I am absolutely mortified over the latest report on the congressional junketeering. It doesn't seem to faze you, but it certainly bothers me. And the other list of perks that these Congress people who have been participating in the congressional pay grab, which is really the correct terminology, pay grab, that they have been enjoying. It's just absolutely astounding. But over $6 million was spent on just travel for these leeches. And who's complaining? My congressman, 6th Congressional District of New Jersey. He's mine not because I vote for him. I vote for anybody who runs against him. That's how much I want to get him out. But lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, he's just about at the top of the pack when it comes to to junkets. And I talked to people in the 6th District, and I asked them if they know the guy's name. They don't even know the guy's name, most of them. In addition to all the other perks that they get, and it goes on and on and on, basic life insurance of $92,000 is provided to all members of Congress. Members are required to pay 2/3 of the cost of the insurance, and taxpayers pick up the remaining third. Isn't that nice? One of the most visible and useful perks for members of Congress is the privilege of mailing unlimited pieces of mail to constituents at taxpayers' expense. This privilege, known as the Congressional Frank, F-R-A-N-K, allows members to use their signatures as postage. The Frank cost taxpayers $113,360,000 in 1988. Cost more in 89. We don't have the figures, though. $113,360,000. And we're going to have to pay 30 cents for a postage stamp later on this year. It's just incredible that you, the people, that we, the public, that we allow this thing to go on and on and on. Sometime when on one day when I have the time, I'm going to go down a whole list of all the perks that they have. Make you sick. Maybe here in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, maybe the tri-state area, we can bounce a few incumbents just to send a message. A message. Well, there are a lot of things to talk about on this 16th of January, 1990. Be honest now, how many of you have written 1980 and then you catch yourself and say, wait a minute. I talked to somebody who was with a bank, and she said an awful lot of 8s, an awful lot of 9 look as though they were 8s originally. Habit. Yeah, habit is a unique quirk in the human condition. Every now and then some Pollyanna will come along and write a book like, Make Habits Work For You, with the word for underlined. Why is it we have to think that habits are always negative, debilitating, injurious, self-defeating? Why? Because most of the habits we acquire are injurious, debilitating, self-defeating. You either get intoxicated from them, or fat from them, or lazy from them, or something from them. Anyway, it's 3:15. Bob Grant here on WABC Talk Radio, 77 on your AM radio dial. Later today, and I hope you stick around for it, we're going to be talking to one of the two gentlemen who, along with Leona Helmsley, was convicted. You know, at the trial, she got all the publicity, understandably so. But there was an accountant, a fellow who, according to the reporters, seemed to be a pretty nice guy, but he was convicted. And he is going to be here to talk about the case as he saw it. And he's actually agreed to take telephone calls from our vultures out there, our listeners out there, who call the radio station. What is that noise I hear? Whenever I stop talking, I thought this studio was soundproof. Apparently not. Somebody's blabbing on a loudspeaker out there. That's what it is. Oh, well, I'll just have to keep talking so that I don't hear it. At any rate, let's get to our telephone. Say hello to John. Hello, John.
Yeah, hi, Bob. I want to speak to you about your favorite topic, and don't get agita. The city council in Peterville.
Yes.
Now, what about this ridiculous raise they're giving themselves? And here you are, the city's going down the drain. We can't hire cops. I think they all belong to the PP&W. Pimps, prostitutes, and other hoes.
Well, it's true, but nevertheless, Peter Vallone got reelected, and he'll get reelected for the rest of his life.
You're damn right he will.
Yeah. What's so funny about that? Do you think that's funny? I don't think that's funny. I
Yeah,
think
but
it's
Bob,
tragic. Only a
it is
Gavone would
tragic.
laugh at that.
Yeah, but Bob,
I can tell a
laughed,
Gavone
you know.
when I hear one. This guy's a Gavone.
I'm not a Gavone, Bob. Bob, I laughed to keep from crying.
I see.
All right?
Okay.
All right, Bob?
Yes, sir.
Hey, before I go, you are the greatest show in the whole damn wide world.
You're right. Thank you.
All right, so long.
Thank you. I like guys like that. They're easy to laugh, you know. They just say something and they laugh. David, hello.
Hi, Bob. Yes, I want to tell you that yesterday I had the pleasure of being interviewed for a talk show for the first time in my life.
Huh.
Yes, Paul Daniels came out to my house and interviewed me, and he told me to pass the word along to you that the broadcast will be shown, and he's going to call me and give me the date, and I'll get back to you.
Good.
And I just want to thank you and Paul Daniels for being...
Thank me. I didn't have anything to do with it.
I thank you. Here's what I'm thanking you for. I'm thanking you, like Paul Daniels, for being the few media people who are not afraid to put decent people on, because the racial racketeers are out there and they'll always be there. But a few people like you and Paul, you know, then I think we can beat them, because the real people get a chance to be heard.
You know, David, when I first read what Edmund Burke, the 18th century political leader and I would say philosopher, said, quote, "All that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing," and I'm sure everybody's heard that. When I first read it many years ago, I didn't realize how significant that was. But the longer I live, the more I read, the more I learn, the more I hear, the more I talk to people like you, the more I realize that Edmund Burke said everything in that statement. All that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. I mean, that's the way he put it. And it has to do with the racial racketeers, as you call them.
Mm-hmm.
Because good people are either intimidated or, for one reason or another, loath to say anything. The Al Sharptons command center stage.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, I once heard Roy Innes say that many times as he's walking along the streets, you know, black people come up to him and they whisper, say, "Roy, you're doing a great job." And Roy will say, "Thank you, but why do you have to whisper?"
Yep.
You know?
I know.
What are you whispering for?
I know.
And it's time that decent people of all races stop whispering and come out and let this handful of rebel-rousers know that they do not rule the world.
Well, David, you're right on target. Thank you very much, and I'll be happy to watch the program when you know the air date. Thank you, David.
Okay.
All right, bye. Jason, this is Bob Grant. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Grant, I've been meaning to call you for the last 2 or 3 months, but I haven't had the chance. You were talking about a professor of mine, Professor Leonard Jeffries of CCNY. Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Now, I took a course with him, and he was making reference that black people were the mothers and fathers of civilization. And he told us, if we didn't believe it, to study. And he pointed out a couple of books.
Yeah, naturally,
But-
he would
but could I finish?
point out a couple of books that
No. He said
pure
to read some
propaganda.
European books too. See, you never let a person finish. And he said that one of his quotes was that we civilized y'all when y'all came out of the cave, and that we had civilization.
Hey, listen, you know,
Will you
you're
let me finish?
beginning to sound like Step and Fetch It. Get off my phone, will you, you jerk? Louis, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hi, Bob. How you doing? I want to ask you a question. I agree with you about these incumbents. They just go on and on and on and on, and nobody really questions what they do or why they do it. Once in a while they do with that pay raise way back, and everybody did it, and they forgot about it, and they gave themselves the raise. But the question I have is how would a new guy that gets in there, why would he necessarily behave any differently than the old guy? From what I understand, whoever
Well,
gets...
I can answer
Okay.
that question.
Yeah.
First of all, there aren't that many new people who get in. They are the exception. 1% in the last election. 1%. So naturally, he's not inspired. But change that. Let's say 40%. Let's think big. Let's say 50% were new guys. The reporters naturally would be asking the voters, why did you vote these guys out? That would send a message. Why is it so hard for you people to understand that it takes massive turnouts, that one or two incumbents losing is not going to do the thing?
So you think that if we just get a couple of new people in there, that would change the people, that would change the behavior of the people who are already in there? I mean, modify
No, that is what I'm saying. A couple of new people is not going to do it.
Right.
A lot of new people will.
The way I understand it is that whoever gets in there, Democrat or Republican, the donations come from the same sources, and the donations, they need the donations so they could advertise on television to get reelected.
That isn't true. The incumbents get far, far more money.
No. I mean, that's right. But the incumbents, whoever they are, Democrat or Republican, they get the money from the same sources.
That's exactly why we've got to throw the incumbents out.
But the new guy's going to get the money from the same sources again.
Will he?
Why
don't you try it? Why don't you try it, for heaven's sake? Try it! The guy wants to argue. He doesn't even try what I'm suggesting. He wants to argue about it. Ted, hello.
Hello, Mr. Grant. I recently was arrested for drunk driving.
Are you drunk now, sir?
No, I'm not.
Why do you sound it?
I don't know, I'm not.
Well, I think you are. I think you've had a couple of belts before we call the program.
Well, I'm calling...
You want to fess up and tell the truth? You've had a couple of belts?
That's not true.
Well, what is it that you've done then?
Well, I'm calling...
You've been snorting something? Why do you sound the way you sound? Because ordinarily, I'm sure a person...
Just because you don't like the way people sound, you got to make fun of them.
You say, I was arrested. Yeah, I'm not making fun of you. I'm pointing out that you sound inebriated.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm sorry if I sound that way to you.
You always talk this way?
Yeah, I do.
Well, then you have a problem that goes beyond intoxication.
Well, what is that problem? Maybe I ought to talk to you about something else.
Well, no. You go right ahead. Tell me about your drunk driving ticket.
Well, I don't feel like talking to you anymore because you're such a jerk. I mean...
Really?
Yeah,
if I'm
you put me down because of the way I talk.
Why, do I make you self-conscious?
Well, I guess you do, right?
Well, only you know if I make you self-conscious.
All right, well, I'm going to still ask the question because I respect your opinion.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I was arrested, and I have to go to court in a couple of weeks. And my father's an attorney, and my question to you is, I was drunk when I was arrested. Should I plead guilty and take the punishment like a man, or plead not guilty and most likely get off from this drunk driving charge? Because this is what my father does. He gets these people off.
Well, why would you get off if you pleaded not guilty and you were guilty? What would you do? Hypnotize the judge? I mean, I don't understand. How would you plead?
No, but my father would find a technical reason for getting me off, as he does most of the drunk drivers.
Is that what you want to do? What do you want to do?
I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if I should... I mean, I've always been of the mind where if someone's drunk, they ought to be punished and put away.
Well, not necessarily put away.
Not put away, but take their punishment like a man.
And do you feel comfortable doing that?
Well, obviously it's the first time I've been arrested, and I don't want to go to jail.
Well,
I don't like having an arrest record.
Well, what makes you think they're going to send you to jail? I don't know. Was it a simple DWI?
That's all it was.
Well, you're not going to go to jail for a DWI.
Well, I don't want to lose my license either.
I don't know if you... Well, you'll have it... well, then what you're telling me is you want me to tell you it's okay to plead not guilty and beat the rap. That's what you want me to tell you, that it's okay.
No, I don't want you to tell me one way or the other. I just want your opinion.
Well, if I tell you one way or the... If I give you my opinion, isn't that the same as telling you one way or the other?
No, because I'm not going to take your opinion.
Well, then why do you want it?
Because I'm going to take a bunch of people's opinion and decide for myself.
Well, I'm not going to play this silly game with you.
It's not a game.
It's a game. You know what? You're a punk, you're a brat, you're a spoiled little tyke. Get off my phone. Oh, he already got off my phone.
No, I'm still here.
Are you still there? Okay, get off my phone.
Okay.
It's 3:30, WABC Talk Radio time. Oh, dear me. Oh, my God. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, the telephone numbers have been verified. You know, there was a bit of talk last week about the verification of the numbers. Are they official? They are official. 212-563-WABC from New York. Even Connecticut can use that number. New Jersey, 489-WABC. You can go to our newsbreaker line right now. And Joseph Caputo is at the other end of the line, ladies and gentlemen. He is the Suffolk County Comptroller. And we're calling him because he has called for an investigation of a public assistance program headed by Governor Cuomo's son, Andrew. And in addition, you also want an investigation of a state agency over alleged improper financial dealings with the sons of Assembly Ways and Means Committee Chairman Saul Weprin, who is an ally of the governor. Mr. Caputo, first of all, I want to congratulate you for your actions, but in all candor, do you think they'll really see the light of day?
Unfortunately, Mr. Grant, I'm sorry to say that this is a Democratic committee, and the three people you mentioned are all Democrats, and they only go after Republicans. And I'm sorry to be so partisan in my viewpoint, but they've had this information since August of last year and haven't done a damn thing about it, and now they're going out of business.
Mr. Caputo, what about the public? This broadcast you are appearing on right this very minute is supposed to be dedicated to the public interest. But the public doesn't seem to care. They don't seem to get involved. They keep re-electing the same jerks over and over again, don't they?
Unfortunately, the public does not educate themselves. They don't see their civic responsibility. And they've forgotten what they've learned when they went through elementary school about their civic responsibility. And more so, half of the public doesn't even register. Those who could vote when it came time. And those that are registered, except for special concerns, they don't vote either. It's only when you have a national election, like for the presidency, where you get 80% of those registered that would come out to vote. But on a local election, even a gubernatorial election, you're lucky if you get 55 to 60% of the registered people. And then it's the people who are interested who bring out the vote. Those are loyal political people who have friends and and who work the district and get the vote out to support their person.
Mr. Caputo, even though the chances are slim and none that there will be a real investigation, tell the people listening what it is that you'd like Andrew Cuomo investigated on.
Well, the thing is, he is going to build a facility out here in Suffolk County to provide for housing for transient people who are without housing. For one reason or another, we're on public assistance and either have been evicted from their housing or the housing was demolished or burned down. And for some unfortunate reason, they are without a roof over their head. The Social Services Department will need to place them somewhere on an emergency basis. They will place them in this transit apartment housing that they're going to build. And he's going to be administering it, the construction of it, and also the administering of the programs by the caseworkers and the various social agencies that will be evident and be providing services to these people who will be living there. He'll be making himself a nice dollar while he's doing that as its executive director and the man in charge for administration. But it's not he that I wanted investigated, Mr. Grant. It's actually the two Weprin brothers. The two of them, one works for the New York State Agency as the counsel to that agency. And that agency hired an investment banking firm who, by the name of Donaldson, Lufkin, and Jenrette, who has as its vice president a brother to Mr. Weprin. So here you have Barry Weprin hiring David Weprin, his brother, and David Weprin's firm going to benefit from the underwriting expenses that are naturally incurred and the commissions that are paid to the underwriters when they sell this it's more than $5.6 million in bonds to the public. The bonds will run for about 15 years until they have to reach their maturity, the year 2001, and then 2005, another group. Some in 2001 reached maturity at the balance in 2005. But the thing is, Suffolk County will be paying the rental for this place, which will guarantee these bonds. And these guys will have gotten a nice, lucrative fee instead of a competitive deal, and in effect line their own pockets at the public's expense. And we had to pay a higher interest cost because they received a bond rating one step lower than Suffolk County is.
Huh.
And if we would have went out, we would have definitely had a bond rating of Baa1. Their rating was Baa. That definitely cost us 50 basis points, or a half a percentage, or one full percentage in interest expense over the 15 years of this bond issue, which very simply cost us a lot more money, more money than we should have to pay, because we're not the ones guaranteeing it with our own faith and credit of Suffolk County.
Mr. Caputo, I thank you for speaking with us, and
It was my pleasure. I appreciate your interest, and hopefully, if this committee doesn't investigate it, I definitely will send it over to the State Investigation Commission, and they may have the capability of looking into it.
well, I don't think it should go without a total airing. I think there's something very questionable here, something very suspicious, and if anybody can't see the validity of your request, it's because they don't want to see it.
I agree with you. I thank you for your interest, and hopefully we'll get something done.
Thanks again, sir.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Grand.
Yes, Jim.
Mr. Grand, I just wanted to call to say some nice things about you. I'm a retired university teacher in the metropolitan area, and I have my own human resource firm. And normally I listen to the classical music stations. About a month ago, I happened upon your station, or your program, I should say, and that of Mr. Limbaugh. And I must say, I'm absolutely amazed at the quality of it, the informative nature of it, and the passionate commitment to truth, which is so unusual in the media today. So really, that's all I wanted to say. I know I'm probably wasting your time.
You're wasting my time? No,
Well-
no, we have to hear that. We have to hear that because we get so much negative input. We have to have some positive input every now and then to neutralize all that negativity. The positive ions to fight off all the negative ions we keep getting.
Could I make one very brief comment, please?
Sure.
I don't know whether it was you or Mr. Limbaugh, the past week or so, there was some comment made about the quality of academe and the fact that it is, in general, it's rather left-wing. There's no question about that, and I was always a voice crying in the wilderness when I was teaching. But I think that this is very true, and I think it's something that should be said. The average academic really has a scarcely masked type of condescension, even patronization, toward the working class, and certainly toward those who are on any form of public assistance. They really feel that they have to be led by the hand, and that only Big Daddy knows best. And I think it's an inverse form of racism, really. And that patronization, I think, has done enormous damage.
I understand what you're saying. Thank you very much, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Paul.
Yes, Bob. I want to respond to that idiot that called you about Professor Jeffries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a black person also, and I read some of his notes. I haven't actually attended his class. I called you about a couple of months ago on this. I read some of his notes that another person was taking. And one of the statements in there, in the notes, was that the reason why they built the Great Wall of China was to keep the Europeans out.
Yes.
And I think, anytime you tell lies like that, I mean, it's an insult to my intelligence.
Well, that's precisely the whole point. But you see, Jeffries is counting on the fact he's dealing with ignorant people. Fortunately for him, not too many people have your sophistication. But of course, at the time the Great Wall was built, Europeans were unknown to the Inner Kingdom, as it was called. And it was constructed to keep out the Mongoloid. The Mongols who were in Manchuria to the north.
Yes, and another thing, if it was to be built to keep the Europeans out, it would be built from north to south and not east to west.
That's right.
Oh, that's the things you have to put up with.
Well, you know, I object to these bald statements, you know, where the guy says, I think he was putting it on. He says, you all were in caves. We civilized you. And I think he was doing a bit of acting, don't you?
Yeah, you would think so. I wished he was. I mean, I don't know. I hope it's not for real.
I hope so, too.
Okay, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye. Frank, Bob Grant here. Hello.
Hello, Bob.
Yes, Frank.
Oh, yes. I want to talk about the Moynihan Social Security situation.
Okay.
Is this a slick ploy by him now to put Bush in the awkward position of being against this tax break here? Isn't he really? Is he putting his reputation on the line in the long run, this Moynihan here?
Well, what you're asking really, and it's a legitimate question, Frank, is what are his motives?
Yeah.
And, of course, to determine a person's motives in a case like this is very difficult, and at best we can only guess. Let me say this. He may have come up... First of all, let's start from known facts. We won't assume anything. Known fact. Known fact, President Bush is a Republican, Pat Moynihan is a Democrat. Those are known facts.
This is all full of, you know, speculate all ways on this.
Yeah, secondly... fact number 2. Over the past several decades, the American voter has always depicted the Democrats as the big spenders and the Republicans more concerned with the tax dollar. That's a fact. That has been the perception, that has been the image, that has been, I think, correct. Yeah, now we get to a little assumption here. Assumption is that maybe Moynihan, who voted for the increase in 1983, he was on the Greenspan Commission, you know, and he approved the increase. Okay, 6 years later, he says, I've reevaluated my position, I changed my mind, and I think the increase is bad. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he is sincere, that he really thinks it's bad.
Yeah.
Well, okay, fine. Add to that, though, you say, hey, Pat, you know, not only do you think it's bad, but it's good politics for your side. This is a long way of saying, who knows whether that's his only reason. I don't think it's his only reason, but I think he's a smart enough guy to know that it will have a political fallout that might be beneficial to him and his party. I say might be.
Yeah.
It won't be if... George Bush is, shall we say, adroit enough to seize the issue as his own, because I think it's a good issue.
Yes, absolutely. And it seemed a little suspicious, because he always seemed one of the more close to Bush than most Democratic senators.
Well, he has been very complimentary to President
absolutely.
Bush. Yeah.
So you figure he'd be the perfect one to come out with something like...
Yeah, but remember, no matter how close he may have seemed, he's a Democrat, the other guy's a Republican, and nothing's ever going to change that.
Yes.
Okay, Frank.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you.
Oh, can I say one other thing?
Quickly?
Are you or are you not still the #1 talk show host? I heard a lot about the ratings and things of that nature.
In New York? Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
and
why?
I feel better now.
Okay.
There are some other hosts that were complaining about the ratings, and I just was...
Yeah, no, in
I haven't
New York...
John lately, so I was wondering.
Yeah, no, in New York I still am. Nationwide, I can't say I am because I don't broadcast nationwide.
That's right.
But in New York, yes, I'm happy
We all
to
know
say...
if you did, you would be far and away #1.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Bob. Anytime.
Bye.
Bye.
Mark, this is Bob Grant. Hello.
Yes, good afternoon, Bob. How are you?
What's on your mind, Mark?
2 things. I'd like to report to you that all 5 of those senators that were involved with Charles Keating and that SNL,
Yes.
all 5 of them are in trouble in their districts.
Good. You mean in their states?
In their states, yeah. I don't know if you saw it on the news the other day, but Deacon Feeney's running an ad.
Yep.
And John Glenn was being harassed. They're all in trouble.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
I do too. And the second thing I want to report was I saw a report this morning on Inside Edition that the police in the Charles Stewart matter, the detectives in that, what happened was there were two blacks came forward and said that I'm trying to think of this guy's name who they arrested.
Willie Bennett.
Yeah, the 2 blacks came forward and said that Willie Bennett had confessed to them. He never made a confession to the police.
No.
but he made he so-called made a confession to them.
Yeah.
And now we find out that the information that they gave, which they said he got from Bennett, only the perpetrator of the crime could have known, or the police. So there should be an investigation of the police because of the detective's tactics.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
The plot thickens all the time on this thing.
It was sad. And what else? Another thing that I thought was very sad was Mayor Quinn, I think his name is.
You mean in Boston?
Yeah.
Ray Flynn.
Mayor Flynn. He was on the Donahue show the other day, and he said something very strange. He said that he agreed that it was not right for the police to go into these 200 some houses at random, but that none of the people complained. And I thought that was very weird. You know, it was almost like they had calculated that, well, the black community don't complain anyway, so we can get away with this. He seems there to uphold the law. You know?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something. This, in my view, is going down in history as one of the most grisly hoaxes ever perpetrated anywhere. And we can't do anything to this monster because he jumped off the bridge. But it's just too bad that all this fallout over a guy trying to commit a perfect crime is causing all this damage. Remember, we've lost sight of the fact that this scum, this Stewart scum, wanted to commit the perfect crime. And he thought he had done it. His intent was not to cause all this commotion in Boston. He just wanted to cover his own tracks.
Yeah.
And I think some people are losing sight of that fact. And if you stop and think about it, it was a pretty clever idea that a warped, sick mind would come up with.
Yeah, but aren't the police supposed to do their job regardless of what the crime is?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, William, Bob Grant here. Hello. William's gone. Mike, maybe you're there. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Bob.
Yes.
Hi. I'm calling from Warwick, New York, and I'm calling about the oil crisis.
Yes.
I just received my bill. The previous month I received the bill, I was paying 92 cents a gallon. At this rate now, for this month I got the bill, I'm paying now $1.39.
Ah.
That is a 50% increase in price per gallon.
Yep.
This is outrageous. This is totally outrageous. I call the oil company. I says, how can you deliver oil to me without even giving me an opportunity to shop around? You just pump the oil in my tank, and then I get the bill in the mail, and I'm going to have to pay 50% more than I paid a month ago.
What I'd like to know is this. Nobody's been able to answer this question. They say because of the severe cold weather, people were using more oil. What has that got to do with the price, though? So they're using more. Theoretically, the more volume a person has, the less he can charge, the less he has to charge for anything. Now, if there were a shortage, if they just didn't have any, that's one thing. There was no shortage. Everybody who wanted to order oil got the oil. You didn't have any trouble getting it, did you?
None at all.
It's just they took advantage, they gouged, and I think that some investigation must be held, and criminal charges, if at all possible, should be followed. I really believe that, otherwise I wouldn't say it. You see, there are a bunch of Mariuls out there. It's 4 o'clock. WABC.
Hello, Mr. Grant. Very good to speak with you.
I hope so.
Oh, yes. I've been listening to you for a long, long time. Longer than I'd like to admit. I like what you said just now also. You sounded like that movie with Michael Douglas, Grease, runs the world. And you're such a fine speaker. I think you must have had some dramatic training because you have a very fine speaking voice. Or maybe you sing also. I don't know.
No, I don't.
The timbre of your voice is very, very clear. It's wonderful. Yes, it's very enjoyable, your show. But you mentioned Social Security earlier in the broadcast, which is very pertinent to people of the ages past middle age, and senior citizens.
Yes.
We're American-born people who are used to really putting our nose to the grindstone and developing business and bettering our lives, in other words. I don't think, the person that was on prior, the woman, I don't think there is a mentality now in the realm of the idea that we have to work and gain what we get with our own earnings. I think there is a different kind of procedure going on now. I'd like your comments on that.
What do you mean by a different procedure?
Well, I'm a depression kid. What they say, people who have come up the hard way and started with nothing and developed our lives into bettering our lives. And now I see a different aspect of life, a different idea. The young people and other people who are immigrants to this, newly immigrating people don't have that same, I don't know, maybe it's the background I come from, and maybe I feel that things are not being done status quo, if you know what I'm saying. I feel there is a situation here that is not really pertaining to ourselves as Americans.
Well, if what you're saying is times have changed and people have changed along with it, I would agree, though people can become spoiled very easily. Human nature being what it is, a person will become very soft and very spoiled in a short period of time. And I think the younger generation was that way. I say was that way because I think that a rude awakening awaits them if it hasn't already struck them, and that is that the dollar keeps diminishing in value virtually every day. And what they thought was going to be a nice income turns out to be pitiful. And by the year 2030, economists say the only way that the nation will be able to support 50 retirees for every 100 workers, as opposed to 30 retirees for every 100 today, is by saving more today. But we are not brought up, well, I was brought up to save, but the younger group, they don't know from saving.
And we were taught, the ethic, the American ethic, we're taught in a certain way of thinking.
Well, I would tell you, I was taught you don't buy anything unless you have the money for it.
Thank you.
Okay.
God bless you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Barry, this is Bob Grant. Hello.
Hi, Bob. This is Barry from East Rutherford. I was wondering, I haven't heard this talked about on your show in a while, about the status of the toll hike, the George Washington Bridge, Lincoln Tunnel.
Well, they want to increase it, as you well know, and they're keeping quiet right now, but it's going to happen. And someone who works for the Port Authority chided me. He said, as a matter of fact, he razzed me. He said, you're right. He said, fortunately, people will never get mobilized the way you want them to.
Mm-hmm.
And what he was talking about, he's a person who lives in New Jersey, what he was talking about was the way the Garden State Parkway Commission steamrollered the increase on the tollway and got away with it.
Right. I think the Port Authority took a lesson from them, because first they said they were going to raise it to $4, and then it was $6. So now come April, when it goes to $4, we'll be happy. Just like the Parkway did with 50 cents and then passed through the 35 cents.
And the MTA did the same thing, because they said we're going to raise the fare on the subway and bus to $1.25.
Yep.
And then when everybody reeled at that, they said, good news, it's only $1.15.
Yep. They're a little too smart. Well, they're not too smart for us, but they know that...
well, it isn't that they're so smart, it's we're so dumb.
Well, they can outsmart us, that's it.
Thank you, Barry.
Okay, Bob.
17 past 4 o'clock. Pretty bizarre. Yeah. But you're an interesting guy because you're not stupid. And anybody who's not stupid I find interesting. You also present yourself in a very orthodox manner. And yet, if you believe this stuff in your booklet, you'll believe any half-baked thing. Do you believe in out-of-body experience?
Wait a second, Bob.
Yeah.
How can you say that? How can you make a statement like that I would believe in anything like that? But first of all, if I'm going to believe anything, I'm going to research it. I'm going to read all the material about it. Now, if I went to you, Bob, and said, do you believe in UFOs?
No.
No.
Well,
what material have you read and studied on this?
I have no evidence whatsoever.
Oh.
At any time, and I've interviewed people for many, many years. I've been doing this broadcast for many, many years. Nobody has proven yet
Well, how are
that
they
they
going to
have
prove
seen
it?
an extraterrestrial vehicle.
How are they going to prove it to you over the air, on the radio?
Well, you don't think that my propinquity with them is limited to just the broadcast. There have been many times they have attempted to prove to me and shown me things, photos and everything. It's all a lot of bills, just a lot of cockamamie hogwash, and I don't think you're going to do any better than any of the rest of them have.
Well, I don't have to do any better. There's a group called MUFON in Seguin, Texas, that can present you with information ad infinitum, which verifies a great deal of this stuff. You know who you should have on your show? Dr. Brian O'Leary, an astronaut. He'll talk to you about this.